Friends and viewers, Anton Chekhov had written a very remarkable short story, Ward number 6. The name of this short story is Ward number 6, written in 1892. So the story opens like this with a description of lunatic asylum, Ward number 6 in a provincial hospital. The ward has 5 pitiful inmates, including the imbecile Jew Mosaika, and is overseen by a coarse porter named Nikita. The narrator describes how a university-educated inmate named Ivan Gromov drove himself mad with paranoia and was admitted to the asylum. The hospital is run by Dr. Andrei Yefimich Rabin, a strange man who became a doctor to humor his father. After actually wanting to become a priest, Rabin begins his career as a highly motivated physician who looks after his patient with the greatest of care. Rabin, however, is soon disillusioned by the uselessness of his task, neglects to visit the ward, and becomes indifferent to his patient's plight. Rabin eases his conscience with the thought that every man is born to die and concludes that suffering leads man to perfection. The doctor fills his time reading books and discussing question of immortality with the postmaster Mikhail Averyanich. Rabin proposes to his friend that life is a vexatious trap in which mankind's only solace is the company of other intelligent man. As Rabin grows more preoccupied with death and the meaning of life, he turns away from Mikhail and toward Gromov for intellectual companionship. Initially spiteful and hostile, the lunatic mocks Rabin for his rationalization and strict philosophy. Gromov's attitude then softened to one of his condensing irony as he sees how the doctor values his opinion. The hospital staff grows concerned of the Rabin's sanity, and even the doctor notices an air of mystery all around him. Things come to a head when Rabin is invited to attend a committee meeting that is actually an inquiry into his psychological health. Rabin is insulted and angered by his patronizing treatment and decided to go on a trip to Moscow and Warsaw with Mikhail. The trip is not a success as Rabin grows annoyed with his friend and spends all of his money on paying their expenses. On his return, the doctor finds that he has been ousted from his post by Dr. Kobotov and fired without a pension. Although Mikhail vows to pay back all the money he owes, Rabin sinks into a fatalistic depression. He decides that every facet of his life is trivial and inconsequential, and is rudely dismissive of Dr. Kobotov's and Mikhail's offers of help. Although he later apologized for his outburst, Rabin finds himself tricked by the Kobotov into entering into Ward number 6. Once there, Rabin finds that he cannot leave and fearfully concede that he is being shown real life. For the first time, egged on by Gromov, Rabin is beaten by Nikita for daring to protest at his incarceration. The doctor miserably concludes that just as he is unconsciously abused the lunatic during the past, so he too has been unjustly treated. The following day, Rabin dies of an epileptic stroke before he passes into oblivion forever. The doctor rejects the philosophy of immortality and he has a vision of running deer. Only the doctor the old cook, and his faithful friend Mikhail attend the funeral. And let us analyze this short story, The Ward Number 6, as one of the Chekhov's longer and more politicized stories. Ward Number 6 was published to universal acclaim in 1892. It explores the conflict between reality and philosophy, namely how people intellectualize reality to justify their own inaction. These two conflicting ideas are personified in the lunatic Gromov and the apathetic Dr. Rabin, a die-hard realist. Gromov declared that Rabin's isolationism is only laziness, fakirism, and stupefaction. This is a harsh but essentially the true judgment. In particular, we see that Doctor retreats into the comfort of rationalization to assuage his own conscience. Rabin knows that the hospital is an immortal institution, prejudicial to the health of townspeople, but he feels no compassion for its patients or inmates. As he remarks to Gromov, there is nothing but idle chance in his being a doctor, and in Gromov being an asylum patient. Rabin thus justifies his indifference to other plight by suggesting that everything is subject to chance. This doctrine is both unconvincing and heartless, and the author seemed to soon scorn Rabin's philosophy. We see how Rabin, a self-confessed stoic, is forced to confront pain and loneliness. Ultimately, goaded on by Gromov, the doctor ends up condemning the senseless reality of suffering and rejecting his previous philosophy. The tale's supreme irony is that conversion occurs within an asylum that the protagonist had held to be permissible on the grounds that it is provided for by chance. But Ward Number 6 is more than a setting for Rabin's moral conversion. It is also a microcosm of Russian society. The porter Nikita monitors his inmate like a prison warden. Moisika represents the capitalist mindset with his fascination for collecting money, and Gromov personifies society's activist element railing against injustice. This paranoid lunatic condemns the status quo. Gromov is a radical who dares to challenge that David Magarshek termed Rabin non-resistance to evil. To better understand Chekhov's sympathetic characterization of Gromov and his condemnation of Regin, one should note that the author visited the notorious Sakhalin prison in 1890. Chekhov was profoundly affected by his experience at the prison, where he surveyed the inmates and witnessed firsthand the horror of prison life. It has come as no surprise to see the author challenging society dehumanization of criminals, lunatic in Ward Number 6. In particular, he questioned the abuses committed by officials whose authority is upheld by state. However, Chekhov does not use his story to force a personal political philosophy out his readiness. Ultimately, we are left to make up our own mind on the issue of state control and institutional corruption. Ward Number 6 is a work that raises important issue regarding the relationship between citizen and state, and between people in position of power and those whom they incapabilitate. Similarly, although deals with broad philosophical and moral question in this tale, Chekhov never overlooks his passion for detail. We read that Rabin asylum issue shirt is too long and that his dressing gown smelt of smoked fish. These descriptions certainly evoke the mood of Ward, as well as making Rabin experiences seem more pathetic. So this is the analysis and the theme of. Let us see the theme of this story. How Chekhov, how the people analyze the theme of this story, the Ward number 6. The theme of the story is the death and disease. Disease features prominently in Chekhov's stories, and his protagonists often suffer tragic and ultimately death. It is unsurprising the author seems haunted by the notion of infirmity, since he has plagued by tuberculosis for most of his adult life and died of the disease at the age of 44, often as in the Black Monk and the Grasshopper. Disease acts as a physical representation of the character's psychological turmoil. So the grasshopper became depressed about his wife's infidelity, while Chekhov subtly blends the symptom of Covrin mental illness with those of tuberculosis in the Black Monk, but the author recurring one of these themes is neither pathological nor self-pitifying. Chekhov recognized man's subservience to force greater than he or his will, disillusionment and failed ideals, the theme of this story. Chekhov's stories examine many kinds of disappointment and failed ideal. Often the protagonists are disillusioned by events that force them to reevaluate their personal philosophies and understanding of the world. The breakdown of aristocratic society. In 1861, when Chekhov was 1 year old, Tsar Alexander II liberated Russian serfs. This act seemed to herald the dawn of a new age and the collapse of the aristocratic privilege. Although in reality peasants were still impoverished, disempowered and tied to the land, many intellectuals began to discuss ideas on liberty and the rights of all social classes to land and education, although Chekhov did not openly speculate on the fall of old social order. So these are the themes, the story, and the analysis of the Ward number 6, written by Anton Chekhov. Thank you very much.